Hello, everybody. This is Katie Scott, and welcome to The Power of Choice. This podcast dives into how the decisions we make shape our lives and relationships, careers, and everything in between. Every day, we're facing uh, different choices that we need to make concerning our lives, and we have the power to make those choices. And the choices that we make have the potential to transform our world. And together, we'll explore how we can make the most of those choices. So don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And let's dive right in. I've been thinking about how some people are not being very nice right now. And I was thinking about how being kind is a choice, right? There's so much going on in the world right now. Here in the States, abroad, I mean, if you look around the world, things are just happening everywhere. And there are a lot of great and wonderful things happening as well. So I'm not overlooking that at all. But what I do want to talk about is how, because things can always be better, right? No matter how good things are, they can always be better. Just like no matter how bad things are, they can always be worse. It's our perspective, right? It's all in how you see a thing. It determines how you feel about a thing. But I want to kind of stay focused on being kind and kind of talk about how that has been lacking in some areas. And of course, what comes to mind is that this whole negative relationship that the royal family in the UK have with anybody who's doing something that they think is like outshining them. And to me, that's like thinking with a child's mind that you have to be more popular. I mean, most of us as adults, we've grown out of, I want to be popular. I want people to see me better than they see you. Let's face it, that's ridiculous. But that's how they operate. That's how the royal family operate. That's how the British tabloid media reports on it. That's why they will brief against each other. Family members, Lord have mercy, family members brief against family members because that's how they roll and they don't see anything wrong with it. We're all out here with normal minds and good common sense, and we look at how they operate in the UK with the royal family and the British tabloid press, the royal rota, and all of the monarchy mouthpieces that come against Harry and Meghan, especially Meghan, on a daily basis. It looks like they can't have a talk show without bringing up Meghan. Something happens in the family, they can't talk about that without bringing up Meghan and or Harry. And I don't understand that. That is so childish, immature, and just plain dumb. I don't get it. I don't get why they can't see how silly that makes them look, how juvenile that makes them look. And they're walking around smiling and putting their hands in front of them and giving themselves awards and all of this and just walking with their chest stuck out. And you look silly. And you don't even understand that. You can do better. You can be better. If you ever stop, and I wish I could have a conversation with William and Kate and Charles, not Camilla, because Camilla's just going to be Camilla, whatever. But those three, if they could just sit down and not just me, it doesn't have to be me, anybody. If they would sit down and listen to somebody that would tell them what you're doing makes no sense. You can't just hate somebody forever because you're jealous of them. Because you know that they're smarter than you. You know they're more charismatic than you'll ever be. You know that they have that it factor, whatever that is. And they mind their business. Instead of hating people when they're doing something that you feel like you lack, they have gifts you feel like you don't have. Look, imitation can be, they say, that can be a sign of flattery. But it's in how you imitate. When you can't have an original thought in your mind until you see somebody else do it and then you try to do it and do it badly, it makes you look bad. It makes you look bad. And then you want people to give your thoughts in the media about how you don't want to reconcile with your brother, how you never forgive your brother. Keep that to yourself. Nobody wants to hear it. And for one reason, because it's just wrong. I don't know what kind of heaven people think they're going to get into walking around hating on folks like that and having unforgiveness in their heart. And for God's sake, how can they have these people that end up being in the kingship or whatever when their turn comes? Oh my God. Be the head of the church walking around with that much hatred. I mean, just think about taking security from your own son and his family, evicting them from their home, which was like the safest place because of how it's set up. They have guards around there, even though they don't have their own security that's required from that country. And then you treated them so bad, and then had the nerve to be shocked because they left. Just think about how does any normal person continually bombard a person, leak, lie, smear, and then when they leave, you shocked. Why? Why are you shocked? You should have saw that coming. Who's going to keep standing around and taking that and just don't leave? That would not been smart on their part to keep hanging around and be mistreated. The thing about it is, you can't expect a person to be your personal doormat their entire lives because you feel insecure and insignificant. That's a personal problem that you need to work on. And there are professional help for that. You can see somebody and talk about that, and according to what level the issues might be, there's medication for. But the thing is, there's help and there's hope for that. But as long as people are projecting all of their insecurities over on somebody else, leaking and lying on people, God is watching that. You're not getting away with anything. That's not right. You need to stop. You need to stop focusing on everything outside of yourself and focus on yourself. Make a decision to sit down and think about, what is it in me? Could my passion possibly be? If you haven't found that out and you're 40, you need to sit down and refocus. And I say get a prayer life. And just ask God, Lord, have mercy on me. Create in me a clean heart. Renew a right spirit within me. Change my mindset from being hateful toward other people. Help me to be a better person. Let my life honor you instead of dishonoring you. Because those people that keep coming against Megan on their YouTube channels and everywhere else, you're dishonoring God. You think you're just coming against Megan. But what you're doing is you're coming against God. Because when you come against God people, you come against him. And some people are wondering why that the main ones, the mouthpieces that come against Megan so much, so many of them are falling. Like the one gentleman over there in the UK who said Megan should be thrown off the balcony or hurled off of it or something. He fell down, broke his back. Then just the other day, live on the broadcast, he fell out of his chair. Some of the ones that was talking about they wanted Harry and Meghan to divorce, husbands walked off and left them. Now they're standing up all by themselves. And should we feel sorry for you? I feel sorry that you didn't know how to treat Meghan, that you didn't know how to mind your own business, because she's really a stranger to you, so you don't have to treat her any kind of way. You just need to leave her alone, that's all. And that's easy. Look at what's going on in the news right now, this trial that's going on. Yes, everybody is innocent until proven guilty. And in this instance, they got so many videos and tapes and everything and people who are coming forward. Well, still innocent until proven guilty. But let's talk about it. Being kind is a choice. It is. It's a choice. We have the power of choice. We're all navigating life in our own ways, doing what we believe we should. Hopefully learning and evolving along the way. But in the midst of our routines, I hope each of us is also finding some type of joy in our lives, because it can't be all about all this other nonsense that's going on, all this other noise. And why? Because this life is the one that we've got. So we have to be intentional about how we live it. And we owe it to ourselves to make the most of this precious life that God has given us. And for me, that begins with having an attitude of gratitude. Is everything perfect in my life or your life? Probably not. But being grateful is a position we can take for being grateful for what we do have. Not what we don't have, but be grateful for what we do have. It means appreciating what we have. It means prioritizing family, showing up for our communities, and treating others the way we want to be treated ourselves. It's simple. And yet for some it feels impossible. And we all know why. When someone walks around believing they're a legend in their own mind, thinking they're better than others, they'll often try to tear down anyone who threatens that illusion just by being authentically themselves. And that's the lens they choose to see the world through. And that lens is narrow, it's insecure, and it's distorted. The truth is, how we choose to see something shapes how we feel about it. And those feelings determine how we're going to act or behave. This mindset applies to so much of what we're witnessing in the world today. We talked about it a few minutes ago, the media's relentless obsession with Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex. The man we talked about who's currently on trial, once celebrated, now facing consequences for using his power to harm instead of help. And that was a choice. Whatever he was doing all those years, that was a choice he continued to make over and over and over again. And people were hurt. And people were hurt. And I'll say it again. And people were hurt. Not only that, they'll be living with the aftermath of all that trauma. And now they have distrust. They have to live through all this pain. And that's going to go on for years to come in their lives. They have a lot of work to do therapeutically. And hopefully having a deeper prayer life to help them to get through that. And my heart breaks for them because I know what trauma looks like and I know what it feels like. You know, what's tragic is how often those causing the hurt never stop to think about the impact of their actions. And that's tragic in itself. So busy in your flesh doing what feels good to you in the moment that you don't care about how your actions are hurting other people. And for the long haul, because they have that to deal with for a very long time. And trauma changes you. Trauma changes who you are. It changes how you see things. It changes how you feel. It changes how you move in your world. And yet kindness costs nothing. If people were walking in kindness, we wouldn't have to have trauma counseling and people working through trauma. And even when they work through it, certain things will happen where their body will react because that's a trauma response to something they felt in their body for a long time because of what they went through. And kindness costs nothing. Love, empathy, and decency comes easily if you're not consumed by your ego or self-interest. If it's not all about you and not caring about the other person. And there are a lot of people out there like that. And my hope is that those people that have been hurt and harmed, not just connected to that trial, but just in their lives in general. And we've had a lot of trauma in my own family. I had to get through it and get past it and work through it and all of those things that you do when you go through some things. And we all go through some things in this life, but it's not how you start, guys. It's how you finish. And I can't speak for anybody else, but what has always helped me is I have a prayer life. When I was in the midst of my own trauma and the person who should have been protecting me, I needed protection from, I knew I had to pray. Because at that time I was a kid and I had no place to go. I had to stay and take it until I could be on my own. And I think that's another reason why I'm sensitive to when people go through things that's out of their control and to no fault of their own because somebody else is probably living through their own traumatic experiences and they are spewing it out on somebody else. They didn't get the help they needed, now it's generational. And that could be a whole podcast in itself, where when it's handed down from one generation to another, you have that somebody at some time has to decide, no, the buck stops right here. My children will not go through what I went through and what my mom went through and what her mother went through. We're not going to all traumatize each other. We're not going to hand that. Trauma's not going to be our legacy. Kindness costs nothing. What's so tragic is how often those causing the hurt never stop to think about the impact of their actions. They don't stop to think about that damage that's being done with their own actions, that they can make a choice at any time to not do what they're doing. But they're trying to please their flesh and to heck with what anybody else think about it or feel about it or how they're being hurt. That's not the way. Love is the way. Empathy, decency. And you can exhibit that. Anybody can exhibit that if they're not consumed by ego or self-interest. If they put one thing in their mind, I'm going to treat people the way I want to be treated. Would I want somebody to do this to me? The answer is no, don't do it to somebody else then. Here's the thing. When we make up our minds to believe something, that belief becomes our reality, whether what we're believing is true or not. And there's a danger in that. Because so much of that is what people are passing around about Meghan and others, and that's who are in the limelight, or so to speak, whether they're politicians or just celebrities or whatever. And people pass around a lie so long until people start believing that lie, and that becomes a reality for them. Oh, I don't like Meghan. Why you don't like her? Well, I don't know. It's just something about her. No, it's not something about her. It's something about you. You walking around not liking somebody you never met. You don't think something wrong with that? You don't think you need some help? Hating on somebody you have never met and will never meet. It's done nothing to you personally. I don't care what you hear somebody lied and said they did to them. Did they do anything to you? What you hating for? It's time for us to make better changes, better decisions in our lives. The beauty of life, we can always choose differently. We can change. We can grow, we can heal, we can live better, fuller, happier lives. We have this one life. We better make the best of it. We don't get a do-over, not in this world. And just remember, if we keep doing what we've always done, we'll keep getting what we've always got. We'll keep getting what we've always gotten. We can't keep doing the same things, same old things in our life and expecting a different outcome, a different result. You keep doing the same thing, you're going to keep getting the same result. It's up to you. You have the power of choice, and there's a lot of power in that. It's time for something different. Don't you think? That's all I have for today. Thanks so much for listening to The Power of Choice. And if you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to hit that subscribe button, you guys, and share this podcast with someone who could use a little inspiration in their own journey, a little real talk about what we all are going through every day. Your support means the world to us. Until next time, take care and remember, every choice you make has the power to change everything.